the text. And as we loop through, we're actually going to give them part of speech tags, because these, for doing named entity recognition, it looks at, again, this also looks just at the part of speech tags, not the words themselves. And any chunk is named entity chunk at the bottom. You'll see as it goes through each tagged token, it'll actually assign a named entity label to it. So we're going to take this text. It's about the Boston Celtics, and about, it's a random article that I found. So this is good because it contains a lot of, it contains some people, some organizations, places. There we go. So this is actually the output after we tag it with named entity object. So it gives us a location. Organization is the Atlantic Division. Location is, it actually did Eastern Conference's location. And yeah, so basically it tags it with named entities. And it actually correctly identified people. At the bottom you'll see person, Bill Russell. And these are basically based on preset rules in NLTK itself for detecting this kind of stuff. And again, you can actually do draw on this, and you can actually draw the actual mapping of, how it kind of detected these named entities. You can break it out on that. Okay, thank you for coming, and thank you for watching. Final note before questions, really quick. This is my latest project, which I'd like everyone to check out if they can. It's pretty useful too. It's a weather site with a zombie theme called Weather Zombies. So it's really cool, and I'm proud of it. So check it out. Thanks. Yes.
I'm interested in knowing whether you have attempted any optimizations that would make it fly at, say, 10 to 100 times the speed that it currently does.
Yeah, actually, that was actually going to be another whole set of slides, because that itself is a separate topic. But there are, yeah, one of the things you can do is pickle the objects. So things like if you have training data, every time you run the classifier, it's going to retrain the data as the way it is right now. So you can actually pickle those objects and then reuse them. There's also a lazy loading module in NLTK, which is a whole other topic, but it allows you to kind of load things on demand versus storing the entire corpus in memory. Also, there's distributed NLTK articles online. There's actually, I think one of the links right here is, okay, it's not there. Well, oh, actually, yeah, Stream Hacker is a great website. There's a bunch, it's a blog about NLTK. And there's actually a couple articles on optimizing it. So you can, they use Redis to actually store a bunch of values. Yep.
Are your slides in the graphical page you gave the link to?
My slides are actually, they're going to be on my website. They're not there yet, but I will be uploading that tonight. So tomorrow morning, just check it, and you'll definitely see it. My site's pretty bare. So.
Yeah. One of the problems that you might encounter is that if you try to deal with complete aggregates, then you have to process the entire aggregate. And what you can do is you can chunk pieces out, especially if you're saying you take a random set. Yeah. What you can do is use a random number to seek in, find the first white space, go a certain number of white spaces forward, take that out, and apply your rules to that. You'll get a fairly dramatic increase in speed by doing a kind of a haphazard approach.
That's actually true. There's obviously a lot of room for creativity on how you go about using these different toolkit functions. And one of the things I'll say is that part of speech tagging is a little bit processor intensive, as well as classification is obviously a little bit intensive. Parsing is more intensive than chunking. So a lot of times you want to use simple things like using the stop words corpus to remove stop words and basically consider those keywords instead of going through and trying to run a bunch of other stuff. Lemmatizing is a little bit intensive. Yes.
What got you motivated to dig into it?
I was intrigued by it, basically, yeah. Yes.
Can NLTK guess what language
I personally have not looked into doing that, although I have seen an example that actually uses NLTK to do that. I'm not exactly sure where I found it or how it's done. I would actually just try to find that. I mean, it's not something I've worked with personally. Yes.
Did you say something like grabbing corpora words or whatever from like PDF files or from the internet? I mean, not downloading a database, but just like going to websites and getting.
Yeah. So essentially, you'll find actually throughout the internet, the datasets that are included with this are included as importable modules. So it's really easy to use, and it's for the purpose of NLTK. But if you want to use your own datasets, if you go online, you'll find plenty of other, large amounts of data that are in certain standardized formats. So one of them actually is called Freebase, which is basically a lot of facts that are aggregated from Wikipedia. These are huge files. Like I think some of them are like 30, 40 gigs. Some things that really big. But they're all stored in XML. And they also have RDF schemas that kind of relate the data to each other. Really interesting stuff that you can use, and you can use other modules to import this XML data. So you can really use any kind of data that you'd like. But I would definitely check out Freebase. It's really cool stuff there.
I'm not stopping any questions, so I just want to get started on the round.
Okay, well, random other question. This is all on text, as in string of characters.
Yeah.
You've looked at all at all beyond processing, speech recognition.
Speech recognition, no, but my friend who's in here somewhere actually talked to me about that the other day, actually. No, I have not looked into that
Which it
at all.
seems as a natural progression from...
I mean, well, when you get into speech, there's a couple of other things that are kind of missing in text, like emphasis on words. You know, so like if I said something like, I told you not to do that, that's my voice gets, in text it looks exactly the same. So certain other things kind of factor into that, possibly more, making it more complex.
There is one of the corpuses in NLTK is an audio corpus. At least one of them.
It is actually, and that's an example on my site, on my GitHub page as well. It actually, what it did is, one of the corpuses is a bunch of different people from different areas. What they did is, I forget which group actually did this, but took a bunch of people from different areas with different accents, different backgrounds, and had them pronounce different sets of words, and stored all of their pronunciations as a data set, and actually somebody compiled that together into an NLTK package that you can use. So maybe of use, I haven't seen it actually being used anywhere other than examples of, how to use it. So this is like, that's one of the reasons why there's so much room for creativity. Is you can.
I was just poking around on the corpora that are there, and one of them, I got to a website that had things like 20,000 audio samples of people saying yes and no. And another one which was Asian elephant vocalizations, which I'm not sure how you make use of that, but people are recording it.
Disregarding that last reference, a bunch of them were used in speech recognition years ago. Some of the funding for that was DARPA related, and then DARPA again. And it, speech recognition actually splits into the sound part, the language model part, and a lot of the funding for this stuff is related to companies or universities trying to build things that either went machine learning and language just, or with speech recognition.
The first voice dial phones used exactly that strategy. They went out into the streets. The two programmers are friends of mine. They just went all over the place from city to city and just stopped people and asked them, please pronounce this word.
Right, yeah.
And,
yeah, I mean, the example is on my GitHub page, so you can definitely go check it out. It's really cool. Just copy, paste, run. You do need that corpus, though. I think it's called, what's it called? Timid corpus is what it is. So definitely check it out. Yep.
So how long has this been developed, and what's the development like now? Has it changed very often?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, its activity has gone down on the actual Google code page because they have a little meter. It seems to have gone down. How long has it been around? I don't know. Ned, would you know how long? I'm not exactly sure. I mean, as far as I know, it's been around as long as I've gotten into Python. So, but I mean, they're thinking. I've heard that they're coming out with NLTK Lite, which you can find on Google Code, which is supposed to be a more slimmed down version of it. I've heard on some networks people were saying that it's because it's more for example, and some networks it's because it's more for performance. I'm not really sure on that yet. But
can it do rhyming as well as syllables?
Rhyming.
Can we write a random limerick generator?
I'm sure you can find a data set that has rhyming words. I mean,
There's a pronunciation
that's actually
corpus in there.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. The CMU dict is a pronunciation.
right.
The syllabalization actually has the pronunciation alongside it.
Yes.
How much has this more exotic languages like say Chinese?
I think Chinese is one of the languages in there. It's there are exotic languages in there. I mean, I doubt that they're as developed as English is in NLTK, but it's something I haven't looked into.
One thing to know about NLTK is that it's not, it isn't a single cohesive body of code. It's a bunch of different tools that can sort of agglomerate it together, and whether you can deal with a language or not depends a lot on whether there's a stemmer for that language in the code, and whether there's a corpus for that language in the corpuses, and all those things. So I have a feeling that the coverage of languages is going to be very uneven. There'll be some languages where you can do a very little bit, and English where you can do a lot.
Some languages don't stem.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. Let's get. Can you give me a Python prompt?
Sure.
So we're going to raffle off this book, Natural Language Processing with Python, which has been donated by O'Reilly.
Oh, and it's actually on the Google Code website as well.
The book is?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so don't bother with the raffle.
I think that's why I didn't show the very last slide, which was like, yeah, it says right there actually. It's on the
If your ticket comes up and you don't want the book, don't be ashamed to just say no thanks, and we'll do it again. So, the first ticket that was handed out was 468220, and the last ticket that's still on the roll is 468282. No, Grand Range doesn't include its last number. Who has 222? Anyone? No? JP's raising his hand, but that's just a fake out. No one? Someone left. 231. A winner. Enjoy. Are there more questions? No? Well, feel free to hang around. There's pizza, and somehow the salad is untouched. We'd love to meet you all. And you go look. I look at my email. I forgot to.
It's kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, actually, you're talking about changing things. So let's say I mentioned,
It's always good to get outside.
I've never been